Boom, guys, listen. So yesterday, right, was Sunday, and I went to mass. I went to church, right, because been going to church since I came back to Norway, right, which I could probably make a different video on. But yesterday I walked out of mass, right, and you're probably wondering why. And the thing is that when you start bringing politics and stuff into church, it just, it doesn't sit right with me. Right. And I don't know that much about this subject and how mass is supposed to be and what's supposed to be in there and what they can't talk about. And I don't know. Right. But there was this other time I was present, a previous one, where they started mentioning this stuff. And it was like I got this ugly feeling about it. Right. He met the guy preaching it. He said something like, "Oh, this Norwegian politician is probably the closest thing we got to a saint or something." I'm like, why am I listening to this? Like, right? And so I just set the line there, right? I set the line. It's like, listen, no politics in church, right? That's my line now. And I don't think it's a good thing. I think it could be you kept out of there, right? So like, regardless of the bad stuff and good stuff that happens in the world, I think, it doesn't belong there, to be honest. But someone more educated on the subject could probably, set my mind straight on that. I don't know, right? Maybe I was in the wrong for walking out of it. Anyways, right? The point isn't that. The point isn't that. You think whatever you want to think, right? The point is standards, right? So when it comes to this, standards, that's the key. So I set the rule. No politics in church. And when that, because I noticed it once, and it's like, okay, this doesn't sit right with me. I noticed it the second time. It's like, okay, we're out of here. Very simple. No spectacle, no song and dance, right? We just quietly exited the premises. Very simple, right? And it's that's the key. It's upholding the standard, right? And I'm telling you guys, when it comes to like standard for your own life, this is how it's done, okay? You will be fooled once. Do not be mistaken. You will be fooled once by almost anything you want to avoid. Then you set the standard, and you can actually have something to react to, right? You have something to or be proactive, right? Because I don't know what he would have said, later on in the thing, or I don't know. It doesn't matter, right? The thing is about enforcing the standard that you set. We are both the lawmaker and the servant in this life. Think about that. Both the teacher and the student. And when people say, "Oh, I believe in this, I believe in that, I have these standards and stuff like that," remember that if there's no, okay, yeah, this is how it goes. Remember that no law is law unless enforced. So gotta enforce this stuff. And it's not the first time I've set my foot down on standards, right? I refused to take the COVID vaccine back in the military. People that are not behaving in line, I've just said, see you later, alligator, and bounced. That's how I do stuff. That's how that's how I do stuff. So it doesn't really matter, right? And also I want to share this. I made this really good quote the other day, but I was talking about the golden rule. Do to others as you would want them to do to you. I think that's how it goes, or something, right? Here's my rendition of it, though. Accept of others what you would accept of yourself doing to them, which I think is much better. But it requires, some reflection of your standards. It requires some reflections of your actions, why and when and what. And I'm not saying all this stuff is easy. I'm not saying it's easy to draw the line and enforcing it. It requires honesty. It requires being honest with yourself, and being real. And but just like anything that is difficult, training, performance, all this stuff, it usually reaps a very big reward at the end of it. All right, so just wanted to share that. I want to make a bigger video on like standards and rules and stuff like that, because it's not just for this. It's just for performance and all out of life and quality and peace of mind, essentially. So yeah, just want to make a short video on that. Hope you guys have a great day. Take care and God bless. Boom!